Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 17 of the Loose Lugs podcast. I am your host, AJ, and finally, after technical difficulties, twice now trying to record this, with me as always, my co-host, Ryan.
What's happening, AJ? What is with our connection tonight? Oh my God, where's JR when you need him?
Recording this podcast tonight so far, Ryan, has been about as slick as the track it was this weekend in Atlanta.
Or the potholes in Michigan, for anybody that's driving on roads in Michigan. Man, these potholes up here, man, AJ, you'd think you could stand in them at least a foot. They're that bad. Tires popping out all over the place. Tire wear worse than it was at Atlanta this weekend, so yeah.
You know, the best way I could put it is, if y'all saw Jeffrey Earnhardt's tire come off his car after the first pit stops Sunday, yeah, that's about how this show's gone so far, trying to record it.
Exactly, and that's how the roads in Michigan look like after Jeffrey Earnhart's car yesterday.
Oh my gosh. This has been absolutely brutal.
Exactly. So, AJ, how...
Last week, ahead. Ryan, and many people know by now, hopefully the Daytona show is up by the time this podcast goes up. We had a really good show last week. I thought it was our best one that we've done. And it's been nothing but an editing nightmare. Because for some reason, when rendering the show, it is crossing over our audio. So it just sounds like us talking over each other for an hour and a half.
That sounds like fun.
So Adam, who edits the show for us, who does an awesome job, adds all the sound effects in and all that.
That he does?
Has put, I think, 12 hours already in the weekend trying to go over it.
Wow. Holy cow.
And still, actually, I just texted him here a little bit ago, and he said it's going absolutely horrid.
Oh, no.
So with that being said, we may have to re-record the Daytona episode tonight. But we'll find that out before the show's over.
Yeah, exactly. So, AJ, how was the weekend?
Weekend was good, man. We checking Twitter all weekend for hockey trade rumors and watched a bunch of racing this weekend, albeit I missed the Xfinity race, like, stage 2 to the final 5 laps, but I saw I didn't miss anything.
No, you didn't miss much.
It was that time.
It was the Harvick show all weekend.
All weekend long. It was the Harvick show.
All right, guys, we will see you at the track.
Yeah, there is the Loose Lugs Podcast, episode 17. Thank you for listening.
Well, that's why pretty much Harvick dominated everything all weekend, so.
And then we had Elimination Chamber last night. Shocking finish.
Oh, very my mouth dropped in awe when he won.
I'm pretty sure it was like 9 o'clock when I texted you. Is it sad that I have more interest in The Walking Dead tonight than this pay-per-view?
How was The Walking Dead anyway?
It was good. I'm not going to spoil anything for those that didn't see it, but if you're watching the show, what you think happens.
So Sarah is a big Walking Dead fan as well, and I'm trying to watch it, and I'd need to watch it from the beginning is what it is.
Yeah, you couldn't pick it up right now and try to understand what's going on, because there's just so much you would have missed at this point.
Well, my two favorite characters are Negan and the guy who plays, or the guy who did Trevor Phillips' voice in GTA 5.
Oh, Simon.
Simon. Those are my two favorite characters.
Yeah, I mean, Negan is everybody's favorite character, man.
I don't think Sarah's...
What's that?
I don't think Sarah likes Negan that much. She shakes her head. Maybe not.
But, the cool thing about Negan's character is he's such a lovable villain.
Oh, hell yeah, he is.
We've never had a villain who... He's like Deadpool if he was a villain.
Oh, I love Deadpool.
I mean, that's the only way I can describe his character.
Deadpool's one of my favorite superheroes of all time, minus Batman.
Yeah. I can't wait till the new one comes out.
Oh, I can't wait either. I want to get my tickets reserved for it.
Super Troopers 2 as well.
Yeah, Super Troopers 2 looks funny as hell. So, but yeah, man, we had a nice weekend ourselves. Got to hang out with my mom. Saw her and her 4 Boston Terriers. Hung out over there for a little while. Got some stuff from my grandma and grandpa's house down in Florida because my grandma got moved into assisted living. She's been by herself for a while now, and she's like, I'm lonely, so they got her into an assisted living home where they do bingo, they play cards, they do arts and crafts. They got coffee in the like little dining area. They do dinners at times and all that. But the units, I guess, have stove and oven and everything like that in their units, which is really nice. But I got a couple souvenir foul balls from Tiger Spring training games, which is really cool. A couple scorecards that my grandpa filled out. So it was really cool to catch up on all that old stuff. Excuse me.
Sounds like you're doing like a real show and tell on the podcast today.
I am doing a show and tell. I'm not going to mention what I mentioned the last time. Because every time I mention
no, I think you're good, man. We've hit the 6-minute mark and we're still here. So
we've hit the 6-minute mark, honey. We're going. Sarah's cheering. She's excited. But yeah, Sarah and I, as most of you know, that we're looking for a house. We put a bid in. Our bid was accepted. We have a inspection tomorrow at the house. We got our fingers crossed, hoping it all goes good because we want to get out of where we're at right now. And that's that. I'm going to say on that.
Yeah, you got a couple apartment issues going on from what I've heard.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That we do. So I didn't want to say that A word. So
yeah. So we had that this weekend. We had the trade deadline in hockey come up. A couple big moves. You know, my Bruins went after Gianta and Rick Nash, which was awesome. I think it's going to be great for a playoff push. I saw your Red Wings finally got rid of Thomas Tatar.
Yep, thank you. I'm happy with that.
Got rid of that waste of money.
Yep, and the Oilers got rid of Petty Maroon too, who I liked. He was a big physical presence. I think they're going to build around McDavid, Draisaitl. They need a goaltender though. Talbot, I mean, he played great last year for him. Hasn't done much this year. By the way, the winners of the trade deadline, I hate to say it for you, AJ, but the Red Wings' old captain, Steve Yzerman, and the Tampa Bay Lightning. That man wants to win a cup down there in Tampa.
You know, I don't think the Lightning won that trade.
I mean, they did give up.
They gave up way too much. I was looking at the details of the trade today. Essentially, they got rid of 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks. What's the guy's name? Nemestikov?
Yeah, Nemestikov. Yeah.
They got rid of him. You lost in that deal. Nemestikov is like the 5th best player on that team.
I think Ed McDonough is going to help them out a lot. And plus, I forgot the forward they got on the deal, too. So, but
JT Miller was in there.
Yeah, it's for the now is what this is. So, they got the team right now with Kucherov. Nikita Kucherov, I think that's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, you got Kucherov, Stamkos.
Yep, Stamkos.
Edmund.
Tyler Johnson, Red Wing killer, by the way.
And Vesey is one of the best goalies in the league, I think.
Oh, Vasilevsky? Yeah, he's playing out of his mind right now.
Trust me, man. I hear all about it down here.
Oh, I bet. Don't hear much about Tampa Bay Buccaneers football.
No, you do. You do. It's in the beginning of the season, it starts off, we're Super Bowl contenders. Then middle of the season, we're playoff contenders. Mm-hmm. And then about week 10, we suck. We need to get rid of everybody. Fire the coach. Fire them. Fire that.
We're gonna get a good draft pick, is what it is. Same here in Lions country.
You know, the Rays are trading everybody, so not much Rays talk this year. Not that there really ever is.
Yep, the Marlins are getting rid of everybody too. So,
but I don't know, man. We're here to do one thing only, and that's talk NASCAR. Let's get into the race weekend, Ryan.
Let's do it.
All right, let's get into Gas and Go now. We had the Camping World Truck Series at Atlanta. This was taken after the Xfinity race, but we're just going to go in order by series, I guess you could say.
What we normally do here in the Loose Lugs podcast. Start with the trucks, go to that Xfinity, and then the Kevin Harvick show or the Monster Energy Cup Series. Let's do it.
So Brett Moffitt wins. It's the first win for Hattori. I can't say the name right. I think it's Hattori Racing Enterprise.
Yeah, he used to run in I think he used to say he ran in the Xfinity series when it was the Busch series. So yeah, glad to see Moffitt win. Also, we got to give a shout out here. You know who I'm going to give a shout out to right there, AJ?
Who's that?
Kyle Busch, for once again back-to-back seasons for representing the Loose Lugs podcast.
Yeah, I put up a tweet when that happened, and it was shout out to Kyle Busch. I'll have to pull it up because it was when I did it. I thought it was hilarious because if you look closely at our logo, you'll know what it's from.
I remember what it's from. I was laughing my rear end off when it happened.
And naturally due to copyright reasons, we painted in the car and all that.
Yeah, oh yeah, of course.
But I put up there, special thanks to Kyle Busch for the Loose Lugs podcast plug at the end of the truck race today. What dedication. Throwing the race away just so he could show his support to the show.
That was class. Well, because I was on delay, because like I said, we were over at my mother's house, and I watched the last lap on my Fox Sports Go app, because when I looked at it, I saw Kyle was winning. I'm like, oh, he's probably got it in the bag, this, that, and the other thing. And so I got home, and I wanted to know why Kyle Busch didn't win. So I fast forward through because I recorded it, fast forward through it, and I'm like, I see him on pit or at the edge of the bottom of the track, in his tire, and I told Sarah, I'm like, Sarah, he did another plug for the podcast. That's when I texted you or I did the voice message to you, and then that's when you in return sent me the what you did on the Twitter page.
Yeah. Once again, Kyle Busch comes through in the clutch, but we're going to get into that in a little bit later. But Brett Moffitt winning takes it 3 wide with 2 to go to win it.
That's a hell of a restart.
That is some ballsy racing right there. That's shades of Kyle Larson.
Yeah, Kyle Larson at Michigan. Not caring, going for that win. Get the wins when you can get them. I mean, and you know what the best part about this win was? It wasn't a cup driver winning. It was an actual trucker winning this race. And I like seeing that. Like last weekend at Daytona when Tyler Reddick won the Xfinity race. I was like, not right, a regular one. I like this.
And, with that, we had cup regulars in the field, and the Truck Series regular is the one who pulls out the win. Naturally, Kyle had the pit road problems. Like I said, we're going to talk about that here next. But it's like the young guys putting it to the regulars, the veterans of the sport. And that's what the Truck Series is about. It's about these young kids coming in, winning races. That's what the Truck Series is for. The Truck Series isn't for Cup guys. It is for Truck Series regulars trying to get into the Xfinity Series, eventually working your way into the Cup Series. So exactly. I stand... Kyle Busch said or liked something or retweeted something this weekend about how you don't hear this kind of stuff when Harvick wins an Xfinity race or when someone else from the Cup Series wins a truck race. BS. I'm the same person when Kyle wins as I am if, when Kevin Harvick wins an Xfinity race. I like Harvick, but why do you have to go to the Xfinity Series? I get you're trying to put butts in seats, but you don't belong there.
No, you don't. And another reason why they do it too, AJ, is because of this pre-commitment sponsorship. Hump Brothers Pizza is a big sponsor for Kevin Harvick. They're on they were on the car yesterday, the Jimmy John's car, and it's a big time sponsor. I understand that there's obligation right there, but there's all these like right now. Matt Kenseth, what's he doing right now? Sitting at home,
flying around, going on vacation.
Probably somewhere. He's probably somewhere warm right now, maybe like the Bahamas or somewhere like that. Or he could be in Colorado skiing. I don't know.
So, like we were saying, Kyle Busch dominates the race, and then it just has these pit road problems. And he stops. They have trouble with the right front. On the drop of the jack, Kyle decides he's going to go, or he was radioed in from his pit crew to go, from what he says. And the left rear tire changer already loosened all 5 lugs on the other side.
Another shout out.
Another shout out to the Lugs podcast. Got another plug. Kyle gets, I don't know what, 50 to 100 feet out of pit road, and the tires rolling past his truck.
I think the pit crew or the crew chief radioed him. It's like, yeah, the left rear tires have already loosed, or there's no logs on these. So he stops, tire comes off, and then he backs it into pit road. I've never seen that happen before.
I'm surprised it wasn't black flag for it or something. I mean, that's what I was thinking watching it. Aren't they going to penalize him for this? Or I don't know if they ended up doing it or not. Not that it mattered.
I don't think they said anything on the broadcast, but what about if there was another truck coming out as he's backing up like an idiot?
I thought there were.
There might have been. I'm not sure. So
I don't know. It was a weird scenario. It reminded me of Dover all over again.
Yes, it did.
Post race, Johnny Sauter was talking about Bo Lamastis. Sorry, I was trying to remember the name. And this is tweeted by Jeff Gluck after the race, and the quote was, "I don't even know if he knows what day of the week it is. I've never seen such a squirrel in my whole life."
Wow. Yeah,
Sauter's not a guy you want to piss off in the garage.
No, he's not. And then I know there was a couple times like they did I think this was Daytona. It may have been, but every time you hear Johnny Sauter on the radio, it's like Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson. All like he's always arguing with the crew chief, and they're like, "Well, if you don't want to do it my way, then don't do it at all." And it's funny to see with all these drivers and these crew chiefs how they get along on the radio, and that's why I like on Race Hub the radio sweethearts of the week.
You talk about the spotter crew chief and driver pairings. I still think the best one is Knaus and Jimmy, because they just get sarcastic with each other, and I find it to be one of the most hilarious feeds whenever they play something from them. Jimmy saying this car is trash, and Knaus going, "Yeah, that's what we planned for. That's why we made those adjustments there." So it's
and the best part, I think it was what was it, Phoenix or Atlanta? I know Phoenix or I know it's in down to maybe Texas. I know we talked about it last year, and we were both dying laughing just because of how Chad was like, "Yeah, well, maybe," or Jimmy's like, "Maybe you should get in the car and drive," and Chad's like, "Well, maybe I should, or maybe I should get off the pit box," and Jimmy's like, "Well, okay."
Yeah, it was just so fluent. Like, they're so quick-witted with each other on the radio.
Uh-huh.
It's hilarious, man.
And I think that's why they're so successful right there. It's because of that right
They
there.
have a trust. Like,
yeah.
Kyle, I say Kyle because Kyle seems to be more vocal with his crew chiefs on the radio. He's been through how many crew chiefs since just going to Joe Gibbs? 3, I think?
3 of them.
And a couple different spotters.
Maybe they don't like his attitude.
He's got a really bad temper. It's one of the reasons why I'm not a big fan of him.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's one of the greatest drivers out there. But he just has a real bad temper problem.
That he does. I don't know how anybody puts up with him. Like Gibbs himself. I mean, granted, yeah, he wins Gibbs races and everything like that, but
Gibbs loves him. He brings in the money.
Oh, yeah. Well, exactly. I think that would probably be one of the reasons why right there. But, could you imagine hearing his radio when that tire came off the truck on Saturday? What his reaction was probably like on the radio there. Beep, 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 beep.
Yeah, exactly.
Or why can't you guys know how to change a right front tire? Well, maybe there's a problem with the new air guns. People on Twitter and on Facebook yesterday, all of these people were complaining about these new air guns and how, I don't know if they're not, like with the hoses too as well, with Harvick and Truex yesterday.
Yeah, we're going to get into the pit gun
the
issues when we get into the Cup Series side of it, because there was some trouble with the guns there, but we saw it all weekend long.
Yeah, like I said, that could have happened with Kyle's gun on the final pit stop. Never know.
I'm curious to see, I listen every Monday to what Jeff Gluck puts out the night after the race, or the night of the race after it's ended. And after all the media center stuff's done, he usually gets on and does like a 30 to 50-minute podcast. And they were talking about that, how the pit guns, you got to give them till probably midway through the season. And if something's not right, then hey, this is on NASCAR. Because it was NASCAR that decided to start doing this instead of the teams. So the teams have somebody else to blame now instead of themselves, when before it was their funding.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I think for the little time they've had to prepare for this, especially with the one guy less over the wall, I think it's been all right.
I think so too.
But let's get into some stage winners from the Truck Series. We have Noah Gragson, Kyle Busch, and your winner, Brett Moffitt, were your stage winners. Your top 5 was Brett Moffitt, Noah Gragson, Johnny Sauter, Ben Rhodes, and Matt Crafton. Some notable finishers, Ryan. 6th was Stuart Friesen, 7th was Myatt Snyder, 8th was Jesse Little, great run, and a top 12 for front row Joe Nemechek.
How about that? Hey, Jesse Little, I remember his dad when he used to drive for Jack Roush, Chad Little.
Yep, the 97 John Deere.
Yeah, everybody always remembered Chad Little because of the mullet.
The mullet, and then the pit road crash.
Yep.
I forget what year that was.
I forgot what year it was, too.
I mean, it was late 90s, early 2000s.
Something like that. And he always had that little squeaky voice, too, Chad did.
Yeah, I'll never forget that 97 John Deere. Lime green.
Yep, lime green. That was a definite color for a car right there.
Your standings. Johnny Sauter, Matt Crafton, Grant Enfinger, Noah Gragson, Brett Moffitt, Ben Rhodes, Dalton Sargent, and Spencer Davis.
How about Ben Rhodes this week without his crew chief? I thought he got a top 10, top 12, I thought.
Nice voice crack there, Ryan. Just want to point that out just to make it a little embarrassing for you on the podcast.
No, that was the Chad Little voice right there. Bam.
Next race is Las Vegas this Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern for all you stay up late people.
And
on FS1.
By the way, it's about time that the truckers are not off until Martinsville. Take them out west. I mean, granted, it's only Vegas, and then they're off again until Martinsville. But I'm ecstatic.
Oh, these teams are going to be hurting for money, though.
Oh,
usually you have a 36 car or truck field, and I'm looking at the entry list now, and you only have 31. That's no shocker. Some of these lower budget teams can't make that trip.
No, that's true, but granted, yeah, maybe you could put them somewhere not that far west. Maybe go down to Texas or somewhere like that. Maybe, I don't know.
Hey, Ryan.
Yeah, yo.
Looking through this entry list, I sent it to you too. If you look at the 27th entrant, Mike Harmon Racing, they're driving a 2015 Chevy.
Oh wow!
And so is Mike Seneca for Jennifer Joe Cobb Racing.
Yeah, oh yeah.
That's
well, there's that funding issue again.
That's weird. I don't think I've ever seen that.
I think it happens in the ARCA series where they race different year cars.
Well, there's another one in here on Xfinity, but we'll get to that next because we got some Xfinity to go over. Or should I say Kevin Harvick Show Part 1?
Part 1. All right.
Because Kevin Harvick dominated this race. I mean, he led 141 of 163 laps. That's a clinic. That is an absolute clinic.
Yes, it was. And we have the Xfinity race on, and I'm watching it. John Hunter Nemechek, first starting the Xfinity series, understand a little bit stronger of a car than the truck. Gets loose right into Cole Custer. Custer hits the wall. If you look at the replay, he gets, I think, almost all 4 tires off the ground on that one wreck right there. And it was early into the race, too. It was like 20 laps in.
I'm trying to find what I texted you when that happened, because I knew I said something about it.
Because I said blank Custer, and you're like, wait. And you're like, huh? What did he do? I'm like, he crashed out. I'm like, I like Cole
here it
Custer.
is. Nemechek is having a bleep time keeping his car under control. And then you said what you said.
bleep, Custer.
Because, I mean, for 3 laps, he damn near wrecked by himself.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's just unfortunate for Cole Custer and his guys that he gets taken out like that to no fault of his own. You know? I mean, it seemed like every car, truck out there this weekend had trouble with grip, and the track was just eating tires up all weekend, so...
And that's why the drivers love going there, because of that factor right there, that it is in the driver's hands. That, yeah, you don't, it's like I can't take 2 tires. Every time there's a pit stop, I'm coming in for 4 fresh Goodyears, adjustments, a drink of water, and a clean windshield.
Do not repave this track. Do not repave it. The racing right now is better than most mile-and-a-half tracks. I thought all the races this weekend were good.
I did too.
I know we're on Xfinity, but so what, the Cup race was semi on the boring side, but you had a lack of cautions, which is why it was a little bit boring. But either way, sticking with Xfinity, Ryan.
Yeah.
Only 7 cars finish on the lead lap.
You know what they call that?
Domination.
They call that, well, that too, and they call it a booty kicking.
Yeah. Harvick laid the beat down this weekend on both Xfinity and Cup fields.
Yeah, that very, very dominant.
Under stage winners, I have Kevin Harvick. And that's it.
He did win all. Yeah, he won all 3 stages. That's right. Yep. Well, they on Fox's broadcast yesterday, and I thought a little bit during the Xfinity race, they called it Harvicking. How he gets around that track so well. And it's amazing. It's amazing how much he's dominated there, and has only now I think 3 total wins there. I know 2 definitely for the Cup side, but the Xfinity, I don't know if it's 3 or maybe more, maybe less. I'm not.
And I want to say, I want to say something about that when we get into the Cup side of things. But your top 5 were Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, Christopher Bell, John Hunter Nemechek, which great finish for your first ever Xfinity race, and Elliott Sadler. Some notable finishers. 9th was Ryan Truex. 8th was Kyle Benjamin. 19th was Tyler Reddick, your Daytona winner. And I had to throw this little shout out in there to a local hometown boy that I message back and forth with on Twitter from time to time, Josh Williams, 24th, who is raced both Daytona and Atlanta and will also be in Vegas this weekend.
In the Xfinity cars?
Yes, sir.
Nice.
And I keep trying to get him to come on the show, but just schedules don't align right. And now he's really busy, seeming to run a lot of these Xfinity races this year.
Do you know how many races he's scheduled for?
I don't. You know what? After we record this show, I'm going to ask him. I know he's racing for one of the smaller funded teams. No, he's driving the 90 car. The team is DGM Racing.
Oh, all right.
Startron Racing.
Oh,
and
cool.
I know that they try to compete every week. Usually it's a revolving door of drivers, but it just seems like Josh is stuck, and it's cool to see,
Yeah, it is. Congratulations, Josh.
Standings wise, Elliott Sadler, Tyler Reddick, Ryan Reed, Ryan Truex, Spencer Gallagher, Christopher Bell, Justin Allgaier, Ross Chastain, Kaz Grala, Brandon Jones, Daniel Hemrick, and Garrett Smithley hanging up there in the top runnings for the standings.
Yeah, go ahead.
I say Ross Chastain. Ross Chastain had a good finish this weekend, too.
Yeah, he also ran the Cup Series race yesterday, too.
He did. Not such a great run.
Well, like you say, lack of team there, so.
I
want to. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, your next race is Saturday, Las Vegas, 4 p.m. Eastern on FS1.
Should be a fun race. Vegas always produces some good racing action side by side. Love Vegas. I'd love to go out there.
What happens in Vegas, man?
Stays in Vegas. Unless it's on TV.
Then it stays on YouTube.
That it does. But yeah, Ryan Reed, 4th in points. I like that right there. Roush running good in the Xfinity Series.
Yeah, I mean, you're going to have to get out of this West Coast swing before you can really tell who the contenders and the pretenders are.
Yep.
So, this is I like the West Coast swing coming when it does, just because then you really get a feel for who's got the top-notch stuff this year and who doesn't. Especially being that Vegas is now a part of the chase.
Yep. On both sides, too. I think it's on both sides.
It's the first race that you race at this season that you'll run twice. You know?
Yep.
All right.
Thor was barking right there, so.
I heard that.
Yeah, AJ heard that. Well, we're going to have Thor's going to be part of the Loose Lugs podcast. Co-host.
Let's jump on over to the Monster Energy, which is now renamed the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series at Kevin Harvick Motor Speedway.
Part 2
of the Kevin Harvick domination. This has just been the weekend of Harvick, man. But let's get into some details about this race. It seemed like, with the rain and all, because this race was supposed to start at 2:30, then it was pushed back to 1, then because of the rain it was pushed back to a 3:30 green flag. It seemed like with a green racetrack, the top line was a little bit better than the bottom line, but you could run anywhere on that track and your car was sticking.
That it was. And you know what the funny thing is, too? You know how you said that they pushed back to start to 1 o'clock? If they would have kept it start at 2:30, it would have still ran at 3:30. Instead, you had all the drivers in the Hollywood Hotel, which was cool. It was cool to see Bubba up there, Blaney. Who else did I like that was in Eric Almirola. Hats off to that guy, especially for what happened last weekend at Daytona still.
And you had the Twitter forecasters, the Twitter meteorologists.
Yep. Also, Almirola being a class act is what he was right there when he was in the Hollywood Hotel yesterday.
Yeah.
And how about Keenan? What's the guy's name? Keenan Thompson. The knuckle
we
puck.
started this season with fantastic gentlemen start your engines.
I was just about ready to say that. Junior was fantastic. And then the knuckle puck from Mighty Ducks 2 did a phenomenal job yesterday. He had enthusiasm. I don't think he may have been to a race, but I don't know, but he was excited to be there, and that command was awesome. Hats off to the first 2 commands this year. Vegas, you're up next. Let's hear it. Let's see it.
You know, I said the Twitter meteorologist. I include myself in that because I'm the one who said I don't think they're going to race today.
You sent me that message too, by the way.
People were bashing race weather on Twitter, and I don't. The point of being a weatherman is, you don't want to predict rain because it's going to ruin the race weekend naturally. But from all the data that we all saw, even to the non-educated eye when it comes to weather, it just didn't look like there was any chance of racing this weekend. And I thought race weather and Brian, I can't say his last name, I don't know how to say it, but I thought they did a phenomenal job with weather updates all weekend long.
Yeah, for sure. I go to my voice box and I'm like, weather, Atlanta Motor Speedway. Oh, it's currently 65 there with cloudy skies. Get the radar, and I'm like, oh, there's a chance they could race. And then all of a sudden, on Fox, driver intros begin at 2:30, race shortly after that. And sure as hell, they were out on that track at 3:30. I'm surprised, honestly, they got all 500
I was going to say, the best part of it was it's not that they got halfway there, or they completed 2 stages. It's the fact that they got every lap of that race in. The planning behind that was amazing.
Exactly. I was in shock that, like you said, that they got all 500 miles in. Because I don't know if you remember, but after the stage 2, I think there's like 100 laps left, and all these, they come back. Mike Joy's like, the crew chiefs and spotters said we're racing the weather. And I'm like, okay, it's going to rain. And then the pit strategy came into effect, and then Hamlin's late, and I'm like, it better not rain now.
You know, it started raining, I think, when Harvick was doing his burnout. It started drizzling in Atlanta. I'm like, wow, he couldn't have called for better timing on that one.
I laughed so hard. I don't know if you've seen the Brad Keselowski interview after the race, but he mentioned about Darrell Waltrip's vortex theory, and I think he did it just to be a smart aleck. I was dying laughing, like, oh man, somebody finally mentioned this thing that DW talks about all the time on TV. Let's get those codes going around. That'll stick care of the rain away, this, that, and the other thing. And I laughed when Brad said that.
You know, someone had mentioned it on Twitter after I was thinking it. How has a NASCAR decided to put a tarp over the track? Not over the track as a whole, but over the racing surface. When you get these rain delays and all that.
Depending on how the rain comes.
Yeah, I mean, naturally you got to think, banking and all that. Water's going to get under it somehow.
Yep.
But I thought it would maybe speed up the drying process. But either way, the air tightens that they have and all the advancements they've made to track drying, you couldn't have asked for a better way to do it.
I remember the first year they had the air tightens out at MIS. It was the first race there had been to in a while. It was the June race, and it rained. Titans came out, I'd say hour and a half, almost hour and 45 minutes. Track was dry. And then it rained again, another track drying process, and then finally it poured down buckets on us. But no, the hats off to these Air Titans, man. They seem to be doing the job for sure.
Yeah. So I was going to say this when I was talking about the Harvick domination he had. There was a point in the race where he was letting off just as soon as he got to that first corner after you cross the start-finish line to get into turn one.
Yeah, for the 3/8 mile track right there, turn one going into that. That's insane. I've never seen anybody do.
The worst part about it, Ryan, or I guess you could say the best part about it, people couldn't catch up to him.
No, they weren't. He was blowing by everybody.
Obviously, he's learned something in his years of dominating Atlanta to do this, because I saw the stat that he's led the most laps in the last 4 races at Atlanta and never won. And someone had said yesterday that Atlanta needs to be repaved. The racing's boring. It's been follow the leader all day. The one who led the most laps won the race. I'm like, wait a minute. That last sentence. You just said that the leader who led the guy who led the most laps won the race. He's done that the last 4 years and hasn't won in 17 years at that track.
Exactly.
I thought the racing was great this weekend.
I thought it was too. My issue is, speaking of which, Harvick would have won all 3 stages, by the way, yesterday if it wasn't for the malfunction on pit road.
Yeah.
Where Keselowski took the stage. How about Fords, though? At this mile and a half, just, hey, take this.
Yeah, the Fords dominated this race yesterday. I mean, 2 Fords. Harvick and Keselowski, it was their show all race long.
Logano was up there, too.
And at one point, there was only 4 cars on the lead lap in this race.
Unbelievable. Yeah, Byron had a mechanical issue, they said.
More issues for Hendrick, man. Do we worry now, or do we worry after the West Coast swing?
Worry after the West Coast swing, because Johnson runs good at Auto Club Speedway. I think it chases they're putting the golden hat on Chase, so to speak.
He's the most consistent Hendrick guy. I mean, consistent than Jimmy was at some points during the year.
I think that's because he's got the best crew chief out of the bunch now. I mean, no disrespect to Chad Knaus, what he's done for Johnson, 7 championships, but Alan
I think that whole team is hungry, man. I mean, how many times can you finish second place before you get your first win?
He may get it at Martinsville. He may get it.
I got a pick this weekend.
Because isn't it Vegas, Phoenix?
I believe it's Vegas, Phoenix Auto Club.
Or Vegas.
Or ISM now. It's no longer Phoenix.
All right,
It's
and
not
then
like ISM Raceway.
which is, yeah, I don't get that.
I mean, it's still in
be Phoenix to me.
Just like Auto Clubs is California still.
Yeah, exactly. Which I don't like. I mean, sponsorships, I guess. Hey, you want to do it?
So
go
yeah,
for it.
Johnson, man, the day didn't start out well, and then you blow a tire.
Nope.
I mean, 3 laps down this race, DNF at Daytona,
Yeah.
and you were behind in points to Matt DiBenedetto, no disrespect, and Mark Thompson, who only ran one race so far this year.
Yeah, it's something though. I mean, I think the Hendrick boys are going to get it together. I think a lot of it maybe have to do with this new car, the new Camaro. I think yesterday was that sign that, okay, well, they tested in Vegas, Chevy did, and wasn't Larson top of the charts? This is where you see where that new Camaro comes in.
You got to see some sort of change with that organization because, I mean, Bowman looked like he was going to have the strongest car out of the bunch, and then, like...
What? Yeah, when the race started, I texted you or messaged you. I'm like, hey, how about that 88 car from 18
25 laps in?
And then obviously the tires... Yeah,
never
and then
get
after
the car
that,
back. Penalty on pit road.
It's just...
Then Byron started deep in the pack, and I don't think he ever cracked the top 20. Well, he finished 18th. I'm sorry. He finished 18th.
Nah...
But, like, there was a stretch there between stages 1 and 2 as a combination where it was like he was just running 30th all day long.
That he was. I understand rookie Byron, same with Bubba.
Hendrick cars were out to lunch all weekend.
Where the tires just...
There was no speed in the cars off the haulers.
Oh, yeah.
It's something that we're not used to seeing.
You know... No, it's not. Hopefully them boys get it turned around here, especially starting this weekend in Vegas.
We talked about Jimmy Johnson. We talked about Alex Bowman's pit road problems. There was a lot of pit road problems this weekend between the pit guns and drivers taking too long to change a tire because of this whole new one less guy over the wall, causing issues with timing and all that. So the pit gun, like I said earlier, I think the pit gun's fine.
I do too. I think it's going to take the crews.
They haven't had a chance to have live practice at this, you know.
Pat.
So it's going to take some time.
No,
but there was a time when pit stops did take this long with one plus guy.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, Harvick seems like he's figured it out on pit road because he is. They said a stat like he's almost a second and a half faster than everybody else on pit road.
Well, his crew did pit him on Saturday in the Xfinity race, so they got that practice right there is what you needed. And I don't know if you noticed it, but the gas man, he was filling the car up, and one of the tires came by him, and he used his foot and put it against the wall. And there was nothing in the rule book says, hey, the gas man can only fill the car. Doesn't say anything about.
No, I mean he can. He's aiding the tire. That's not a part of their rules. So
yeah, exactly. Not at all. And I tell you what was it, 14, some of them 15, 16
yeah, I saw
stops?
a couple 16s, I saw a couple 15s, I saw one 14 flat from Harvick.
I don't think you'll ever see anything under 11 seconds with the 4 tires changed now. But yeah, I think you may see a 13.5
Give it till mid-season
here coming up, and I think that's... Yeah, give it to mid. Yeah, exactly. That's what Larry Mack said. Give it to mid-season.
And we were talking about pit road problems. Martin Truex Jr. had a great car all race. He starts 36. His car chief suspended. Didn't get to turn to qualifying lap. Starts 36th. And he was what? In the top 10 by lap 21, 22?
Exactly. And people are saying that, well, he doesn't have any qualifying tire or tread on his tires from qualifying. Yeah. But whose fault is that for not giving him a qualifying lap? Was it Truex's fault? No. Cole Pern's fault? No. NASCAR's fault.
I believe in enforcing the rules, but you gave him an advantage at that point. Should have thrown them on like practice scuffs or
Exactly.
something.
Yeah, exactly. Tires, the last set of tires, no matter how many laps you ran on them, you got to start on those tires.
More problems we had were for Trevor Bayne blowing a motor, and it wasn't so much the Trevor Bayne say that real fast. It wasn't for Trevor Bayne blowing a motor.
Yeah.
It was more for Bubba Wallace crashing into Ricky Stenhouse through the smoke. That was some thick smoke. On the TV, you couldn't see through it.
That was a smoke show right there. And I messaged you. I'm like, yeah, the Trevor Bayne smoke show now. Man, I've seen cars blow up in person, and like you said, I couldn't see anything on the TV. I'm like, no wonder why these guys.
I think they showed Kyle Larson's on board, and you couldn't see through the smoke.
Yeah, no, you couldn't. He's slowing down, and it's like, yeah, you can't see. Where am I going?
So Bubba running into Stenhouse, I don't put any fault on Bubba or his spotter. You just can't see there.
No, I don't either.
You know,
Exactly.
I saw his spotter took the blame for it on Twitter after the race. But man, you get in a situation like that, get up next to the wall and hope for the best.
That's all you can do.
Looks like Days of Thunder.
And that's why, like, these, yeah, exactly, like these restrictor plate tracks. It's like, okay, the big one's happening. Go high, go high. No, go low, go low. It's like, you can't see anything with that smoke. And it's like, I don't understand. I don't, like I said, why the what's it called? The spotter took blame on Bubba's, and I don't get that at all. Shouldn't have been anybody's
it's just,
fault.
it's kind of a racing deal, but it's just an accident. I mean, that's truly what it is. Complete accident.
Yep.
It's a freak incident. Yeah.
What can you do
Nope.
on that?
Ryan, we had 4 Chevys in the top 20. 4.
That's not Chevy-esque like right there. I mean, granted, yeah, you're still getting the kinks out, worked on the new Chevy Camaro, which I can't wait till it comes into full fruition. I think you're going to see some great things out of it. Work the kinks out right now. You got time before everything. See what happens here in Vegas. Like you said, we had the test down there. Larson was quickest down there, I do believe. We'll see what happens.
And I'm looking at the entry list, and there's more Fords, I think, than Chevys. Well, maybe there is more Chevys than Fords.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, there's definitely more Chevys than Fords. But what the hell? This new body style, I expect them to be a little bit quicker than this.
Exactly. How many entries listed are in this? Because I'm on my phone.
We
right now. I
have
don't
one
have the
more
tablet.
entrant this week. We have 37 total.
Oh, wow. Who's the
Well, you
new
have
entrants this week?
Cole Custer making his debut this weekend.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Cole Custer.
And I actually don't even see him on the entry list, but I know he's racing this weekend.
Yeah, he's in the 51 for affiliation.
Yeah,
to
it's
Stuart
usually
Haas.
Justin Marks' ride, but I do believe this weekend it is Cole Custer's ride for sure.
Yep. And by the way, hats off to Stuart Haas Racing right now as a whole organization. All them guys were in the top, I'd say top 12 all day long yesterday.
Top 8.
Obviously, Harvick having the stronger car out of the bunch. Yeah. Almirola's running great in the 10 car. Man, what's that say about Danica? What's that say about Almirola finally getting in some good equipment? No offense to Richard Petty Motorsports or anything like that. I mean, hats off to them as a whole organization. Kurt Busch leading laps yesterday, which was, I mean, for Kurt
What, did
Busch
everybody
fans, I thought
except
that
for
was cool
Almirola
to see
lead
as well.
laps? Did Boyer lead any laps?
Boyer did not lead any laps. He was up there, though. I think he was top 4.
Boyer had a strong run yesterday. You know what? Let's get into some stage winners and top 5s, and we'll talk a little bit more about it. Your stage winners were Kevin Harvick,
All right.
Brad Keselowski, and then naturally Kevin Harvick won the race. Your top 5 were Kevin Harvick, Brad Keselowski, Clint Boyer, Denny Hamlin, and Martin Truex Jr. And like you were saying, Boyer, solid run. But it's like he's doing the same thing that happened last year.
Yeah, exactly.
He's gonna finish
Starting
in the
out
top
strong.
5 a lot, and then he's just gonna slowly fade away. I don't know. It's
I've noticed that. Yeah, I've noticed that with him. It happens a lot.
yeah. Last year he was in contention to win a couple races too, like some fuel mileage races, and then just
I I think with the way Stewart Haas Racing is, as a whole organization is running, all four of them guys may get wins. Well, obviously Harvick's got one. I think the rest of the three may get wins, actually.
Any one of them can win this weekend.
They're running that well. Yeah, exactly. They're running that well. Oh, my. So, but yeah, like I said, hats off to the Stewart Haas organization as a whole right now. Been the best organization in the sport right now for the last two races.
Some notable finishes, Ryan. 7th, Kyle Busch. 8th, Kyle Larson, the highest running Chevy. 9th was Chase Elliott, the top running Hendrick car. 18th was William Byron. 22nd was Ryan Newman, who started off with a car like a bat out of hell out of the starting gates, and then hits the wall, ends that car's day for the most part. I thought he was really going to be a contender for the win there. And 32nd, Bubba Wallace, in a result of the Stenhouse incident.
Yeah, Bubba had a rough day, but like he said in the Hollywood Hotel, that he wants to learn. He wants to run all the laps, which I do believe he did. And then,
I was just going to say your standings right now. Kevin Harvick, Austin Dillon, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, Denny Hamlin, Clinton Boyer, Martin Truex Jr., Kurt Busch, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Larson, Bubba Wallace, Michael McDowell, and Ryan Newman. Go ahead, Ryan.
What? Where did the Daytona 500 winner end up yesterday?
I thought he was like 17th, 16th. I was gonna put him in here too, and I decided against it, but I was going to too, and I guess for some reason I just didn't. Let's see. Austin Dillon finished 14th. So your Daytona 500 winner last week finishes 14th this week. Your next race is Sunday, Las Vegas. All races are in Las Vegas. 3:30 Eastern on Fox.
Cup race on Fox. The rest of them on.
That's been the story of the season, though, so far.
Yeah.
So.
I'm all right with it. I know there's people out there that don't get Fox Sports 1 yet, and I don't know. Cable company. You know, satellite dish.
Yeah, I mean, it's some people won't be able to watch Xfinity and trucks this weekend, and we've gone through this story 1,000 times. We can talk about it till we're blue in the face. It's not changing anytime soon. All right, if you are interested in owning a Richard Petty car or one of his trophies, they're to be auctioned May 12th in Las Vegas.
Oh, wow.
Basically, the background I was reading on this was everything that Petty wants in the museum is there, and this is the remnants of what basically the kids don't want.
No kidding.
So he's auctioning that off. I can only assume there's more stuff to that, being that he had to downgrade a little bit with the race team, being that he's with RCR now. But, yeah, if you want to own your piece of Petty history, May 12th in Las Vegas.
I know somebody's going to be betting on a Daytona 500 win car.
Yeah. Pit crews of Clint Boyer and Kurt Busch could be impacted by the Kyle Busch truck race issue on pit road.
Really?
Being that the tire fell off because the lug nuts weren't fastened properly, and that pit crew is, it's got members from both sides.
Oh, wow.
I believe it is at least a one-race suspension.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Why would that affect them on the Cup side if they were doing it in the trucks?
Because it's the whole race weekend.
That's crazy.
Yeah. We mentioned it earlier. Cole Custer to make his Cup debut this weekend at Las Vegas.
I'm excited for him. I know he's not going to be in the strongest of equipment. Go out there, run all the laps, like Bubba said yesterday, and run all the laps. Get that experience, and I think he'll be all right.
Just bring it home in one piece. That's what I see. I kind of see Byron doing that.
Uh-huh.
He's kind of taking it a little bit easy with his equipment, getting a feel for it. I give him a couple more races. I think he'll be a little bit more competitive.
I do too.
But
I think Phoenix. Phoenix.
Phoenix going to take the 88 as a sleeper, although I'm not impressed with what I've seen in the last 2 weeks.
No, not at all. But he's run good there. It's his hometown track. So we'll wait and see what happens, though.
We have Smithfield to sponsor 6 races for Petty Motorsports. RPM getting Smithfield back as a sponsor for a little bit.
Interesting, especially with them being on the 10 and the 10 running so good lately. Yeah,
and there was a little bit of a fallout between the two.
Was Aspen Dental going to come back on the 10 car or what?
I don't know.
You going to see GoDaddy now?
All right, Ryan, we're done with Tyra. We're getting into social media
what
now.
What about GoDaddy sponsoring Eric Almirola? See Eric Almirola doing a GoDaddy commercial?
Yeah, I don't... He'd be a tooth fairy.
Oh, man. So some social media now, eh? Well, that's serious.
Social media, man. Let's get into it. All right, we are up to 319 downloads on Podbean, iTunes, and Stitcher. We have 124 followers on Twitter. Remember, with the followers on Twitter, we were doing that contest. 200 followers. We're giving away the Daytona program with the collector car with it. And starting lineup. We have 58 likes on Facebook, 11 subscribers on YouTube. We have some new follower shoutouts this week. We have Brad Yunker at BYunker30. We have Linda at RacingGal_FL. We have NASCAR Wars at NASCAR Wars. And we have Hunter Bolins at BolinsHunter. Hunter Bolins is the part of the pit crew, track crew, and shop mechanic for the number 00 Jeffrey Earnhardt machine.
That is awesome. I told Sarah about that, and like her mouth dropped because I told her at work because you had mentioned it to me last week that he had liked the podcast page, and Sarah's mouth just dropped to the floor, and I'm like, yeah, mine did the same thing when AJ told me I'm like that. So I did too. Definitely.
I thought it was pretty cool.
Jeffrey Earnhardt. So let's see what happens.
I think it kind of stemmed from when we were at Daytona. I took a picture of the caution clock on Twitter. Wrote his Twitter handle on their window, their shop window. Yeah, so in big letters, it's at Caution Clock 20 across their window, and I took a picture of it, tagged Caution Clock in it, and no sooner I did that, there was a response from Hunter saying, "You wrote that on Jeffrey Earnhardt's window," and he was and I was looking him up, and I'm like, "Oh my god, he's part of the crew." So that was pretty cool. Thank you all for the follow. We hope you enjoy it. We're glad to have you. And you are now entering.
How ironic would it be if that guy won the 500 program?
Yeah, right?
Man, he was at the race. He was changing tires.
Our podcast shout-outs are as follows. Go ahead and follow Lap Traffic, the PTM podcast, the MOATF podcast, the All Turns No Breaks podcast, the Bump and Run podcast, and Creditcast, the Final Lap Weekly, and a new one starting up. I told you all about it last week. Make sure you follow the Spotter Stand podcast at spotters_stand.
Yo.
Ryan.
Oh, it's time for
It is time for you to go to work, my friend. It is time for Ryan's rant.
Thank you, AJ.
With Ryan.
It's not... Excuse me, gotta clear my throat there. Hold on. Alright, guys. It's not really a rant. it's more of a question to our listeners at the Loose Lugs podcast. Do you feel that these 1.5-mile tracks with these 500-mile races are too long? Do you think they would be a better fit for a 400-mile race? Me personally, I think all 1.5-mile tracks should be 400 miles. I thought yesterday's race, although it was very entertaining, it didn't take too long. I just think that it needs to be shortened a little bit, honestly. And yeah, I don't know. It's like 500 miles, 1.5 miles, 320 some laps. Come on, the only long race should be the Coca-Cola 600 because it's tradition. But keep these 1.5-mile tracks at 400 miles. I get Daytona, Talladega being 500 miles, everything along those lines as well. What is your thought on that, AJ?
You know, I've given this topic much thought. And granted, I like the idea of a shorter 1.5-mile race because there are some of these races that drag on forever. I mean, as much as I enjoyed the racing yesterday, I think it was like 100 laps to go, and I'm like, all right. It's either going to be Harvick, Keselowski, or Hamlin. This late race caution. Actually, I should take that back because it was more with 20 to go when this all happened. With this late race caution, my phone just went off right in my ear. I lost my train of thought. I got distracted by it.
With 100 to go,
with 100 to go, it's just like, get on with it. We already know who it's going to be at the end of the race. We could cut out a lot of this.
Yeah, like I said, you know what race it actually really seems to drag out, and I love watching the races at this track, but Texas Motor Speedway. I do too, but for it to be Texas. A 500-mile race, I just don't get it.
But the other side of things, Ryan, is there's a lot of sponsorships that, with the commercials and all that of a 500-mile race, that come out on top in this. And I always tell you in these rants, if you don't have sponsorship dollars,
exactly,
you're not going to have a sport.
And go ahead.
Like, I was just going to say, Monster Energy asked for another extension on their talks with NASCAR to be the primary sponsor again. And we're almost at the time where you need to start planning for 2019.
2019 will be here before we know it.
Yeah, it's... Yeah. But that's all I think I got to say on it. I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing some of these races shortened, even if it's by 50 laps or 75 laps.
And here's a funny thing too.
But
at Michigan International Speedway, a 400-mile race is 200 laps. You know, a 500-mile race is an additional 50 laps. It'd be 250 laps for a 500-mile race. And they used to do that 500-mile races, and they dropped it to 400. I'm all right with 400 miles. You get good racing, everything along the sun, good racing, side-by-side action, cautions, pit stops, fueled mileage. I love it. But like I said, the 1.5-miles. And that's it, only the 1.5-miles.
I don't mind that. I don't mind it.
Thank
I
you.
thought you brought up a good point today. Any more things you want to rant about, or is that it?
The fact that, no, I just want to give another shout out though to Kyle Busch again for representing the Loose Lugs podcast.
All right. With that shout out, there was a couple things I missed that we didn't talk about. Kevin Harvick's car at the end of the race yesterday after inspection, there was one lug nut missing. It is just a fine.
It's not encumbered
nothing more
or
than that.
again?
But no, not for one. But there was a loose lug or no lug there on Kevin
thanks,
Harvick.
Kevin.
Thank you for the shout out, Kevin. And our listener picks, not picks, but what they thought of the weekend. William SoQ said Ford's overall looked really good. Brett Moffitt also looked really good. It's not often you go 3 wide for the win on a restart. And Patrick Ardron said, from what I saw of it, fighting off a migraine stomach pain, Harvick whipped everybody and finally closed the deal at AMS for a win.
That was a very solid point by both.
Solid points.
By the way, I know you mentioned it yesterday during the victory lap for Kevin Harvick, throwing up the 3 again to pay homage, obviously, because it's, 17 years I thought it was, they said. But that was cool to see.
Yeah. It definitely brought back some memories and a little bit of chills, too.
Because I remember when he got in the ride, everybody's like, this is the guy they're going to replace Earnhardt with? Yeah, oh yeah.
And he was still kicking butt in the Busch Series, though.
I wasn't necessarily shocked by the movement. I was just like, wow, that's the guy for Earnhardt? Wow. And now look at him, a champion, Daytona 500 champion. Even though I was mad he won, who he beat that race, Mark Martin. But no, he's won Daytona 500. He's a champion. He's a proven driver. Richard Childress knew what he was doing.
Yeah, he sure did. He didn't make a bad decision there.
You know, we won't get into that again.
I agree with you.
Oh man.
All right, man. You ready to get into some white flag? All right, we got our predictions for the weekend. The Truck Series at Las Vegas. Ryan, who are you going with?
Tight, keep working the mirrors. In line with you, coming to the white.
2 weeks in a row, you're going Johnny, huh?
Best driver out there, man. telling you.
And just a reminder, we do have to go Truck Series and Xfinity regular series.
Point.
My pick,
very nice.
Myatt Snyder.
Nice.
Who are you going with in Xfinity?
Give me Cole Custer.
I think you picked Cole Custer last week too, didn't you?
Justin Allgaier.
Who'd you pick last week for Xfinity? Oh, that's right. I think I went Custer last week. Now I'm thinking about it.
Ben, we'll find out who we picked. I gotta write these down.
I'm going.
Oh, thank you.
I'm writing them down for you.
Hey, AJ, who did I pick last week? Oh, that's right.
Well, I had to start a new pad this week, so I don't have last week's in front of me, which I should have. No. Unprepared by me. I'm picking Christopher Bell this weekend.
He runs really well there. I picked him in. I picked Christopher Bell in my
energy
Final Four, by the way. Yeah, for the championship.
Did you?
Kid's got talent, man.
I think he does too, and he's racing for Gibbs. I mean, it's a good mix. For the Monster Energy Kevin Harvick Cup Series.
This week? At Vegas.
Ryan, who are you going with?
Fords have been strong. Give me Joey Logano. Yep.
You're going to 22.
And my dark horse
Joey Logano
will be Clint Boyer.
On a fuel mileage?
Yeah, I guess it's fuel mileage.
All right, I'm going to win the race. Kyle Busch always runs well at Las Vegas. You can never count out the 18. And I'll look like a genius if I win this weekend. And my sleeper is going to be the number 9, Chase Elliott. Finished 3rd there last year. I thought he had a pretty solid car last year, but just wasn't in the cards at the end. Mark Truex Jr. had too good of a car. Weren't going to beat him.
But yeah, go ahead.
I think
I
think we're in for a really good race weekend, Ryan. I think Las Vegas is going to be just as, if
Plus
not more entertaining than Atlanta.
Race too. I mean,
that it is. You know, we get our first preview of what some guys are going to be bringing into the
Don't
chase
count the
this year.
78 out. I know he won there last year, but just don't count him out. I think they had that little patch this weekend with the crew member being suspended, the car chief for not qualifying. But I think they'll be back this weekend. He had a great car though, but don't count out the 78.
I agree with you, Ryan. Well, I think with that being said, we got another episode here in the books. I believe that we might have to do another recording here after this is said and done with. But with that being said, Ryan, go ahead and hit him with it.
All right, everybody, have a great week at work this week. We will see you at the track. Enjoy Vegas.
What happens in Vegas, man? Enjoy the race this weekend.